Good morning. I'm just going to go ahead and ask for forgiveness right now, just so you know, because I'm fixing to be a little bit passionate and somewhat aggressive. So this is unlike me, but you need to be aware that we are 2 weeks away from doing our first full church outreach event for our community that we've been able to do in over 2 years because of the situation. For almost 2 years now, our city has sat back and hidden in fear and in discouragement and loneliness. And as a church, we have the opportunity to put our big foot forward and to show the people that we live with in this area and the families that are in need that we care, that we are not intimidated by the world and the things that go on in this world, that the Lord leads us on where we are to go. In 2 weeks, we have our back to school event, not only for the foster families, which we've done in the past for several years now, which makes a world of difference to that community, but also for the other people in our areas here as well. Tomorrow, I will be putting out a sign on that billboard out there, explaining to people what's going to be happening in 2 weeks. And my desire, our leadership's desire, is that in 2 weekends from now, that when you come to this part of Council Bluffs, when you go down McPherson Avenue, that lawn over there is going to be packed with our members serving the Lord, handing out supplies that are needed, giving joy to children, giving relief to parents, and showing our community that we are here, that we are not intimidated by anything, and that we love the Lord with all of our heart. The question is, how are you going to help us represent that? Are you going to have an excuse on why you're not going to be here in 2 Saturdays? Or are you going to step up, church, and find your spot? Maybe you're not the game runner. Maybe you're the hot dog server. Maybe you're the registration table. Maybe you're just handing out water, saying hello, being a friendly face. But church, what are you going to do? Is it going to be enough of a priority for us that we are here, or is it going to be the afterthought at 2 o'clock on Saturday when you went, yeah, it's something I was supposed to do and I forgot? Is God going to be a priority for you in 2 weeks to be here for our community? Is it important enough as the big game? Is it as important enough as the special shopping spree or the movie that you wanted to go watch? Where does God fly in your heart in 2 weeks? I told you I'm going to be aggressive. I told you I'm going to be passionate. If I hurt your feelings, sorry, but I'm not sorry. God needs us. Our community needs us. It doesn't matter if you're 85 or you're 5. God needs us. We have sheets in the foyer for you to sign up. Lord can give you a position to help. Church, I hope and I pray that this Saturday in 2 weeks is going to be the best one we've ever done. That the fruits of our labor shows in the people that are being touched by what we do. If you don't think that it makes a big difference in the community around us, talk to Sandra. Talk to our other families that are going through foster training now. And the things that are said about our church and how we feel and we care for other people. The representation that we give God by what we do is being said on a daily basis. This morning we're going to talk about this idea of having a building and a daring faith. Having a faith that is in action and doing some things. And we're going to see some scriptures that you have seen before, but I want to tie them in together for you to really hit home what I'm talking about When we look at the idea of faith, of course, we run to our first scripture that we look at Hebrews 11. It says, now faith is confidence in what we hope for and the assurance of what we don't see. That's what faith is. But to have a daring faith, a vibrant, living, moving faith, what does that look like? How do I get there? What do I need to do? That's the million-dollar question. How do I move from just believing and being hopeful into being a point of action? How do I change from just existing to doing and moving? Several years ago, I had the opportunity to go see this incredible thing. It was Niagara Falls. And I'll tell you how it came about. As a youth minister, and I was younger, and I kind of had a little bit of a specialness about me that I didn't like being told what I couldn't do very much. We've been going on a mission trip for a couple of years across to the west. And my elders came back to me and they said, you can't travel that far anymore because you can only drive so many hours in the bus by law. We want you to cut down your mission trip to within 9 to 10 hours. And I was like, okay. So being the kind of guy that I was at that time, I got my map out and I got my mileage out and I took a little extract, what are those things that architect guys use in the mixed circles, you know what I'm talking about? What's the word for me, David? Protractor. And I stuck it out to my 9 hours and I made a circle in the United States from where we lived in Indiana. And I said, ooh, look, I can leave the country. So I took my kids to Canada just so I can say, and I was like, we're within our 10 hours. And so we went and did a mission trip in Canada. And one of the days we were there, we went over to Niagara Falls on the Canada side. Beautiful. I mean, it is gorgeous. Got to ride in the Maiden of the Mist, go in there and see all that stuff, and it was wonderful. And it's something when you see it, it's one of those things that we have as a country that we cherish because it's so unique and beautiful. And if you never got to see it, you need to go sometime. Charles Blondin, in 1859, came to the United States. He was an incredible tightrope walker. He had went all over Europe, and he's done all these incredible things, and he'd heard about the New World and the wonderful things about it, and he wanted to go see it. So he traveled by boat to New York, and he got to New York City, and the first time he saw this Niagara Falls, it touched something inside of him. And he said, I've got to walk across that. It would be my greatest feat of all times. This is a guy that when he would walk on the tightrope, he wouldn't just kind of walk across. He would take a camera with him, those old tripod cameras, and he'd walk it on his shoulder and walk across these long ropes, and he'd set it on there and take pictures of the crowd. He would grab a wheelbarrow and roll it across the lines that he was doing across all the time, and no matter where he was, he would do all kinds of tricks. He would sit down on the wire and then lay down and act like he was sleeping, get up, and people would come from miles around to watch him do this. And so when the people in the United States had heard, and Canada heard that he was going to walk Niagara Falls, they started coming in by the droves. Thousands of people started coming in on the New York side and on the Canada side. He strung up his line, and he put the guy ropes on to try to stabilize it. And these are the ropes that are on the side that kind of shoot out to try to make the rope stay steady. But it could only go out so far with those on each side. And in the middle, it was still just the one line. And the further it got away from the guy ropes, the saggier it got and the more it would sway. So the day came on August 17th, 1859. And it's his day he's going to walk it. 25,000 people are around the edge, and between the two sides they estimate. And he starts walking across above Niagara Falls. He walks from New York all the way to the Canada side, and he's within from me and Troy, and the crowd's all there, and they start cheering, Blondin, 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 and they're just getting like frenzied because of what he's done. And he hushes the crowd as he's still standing on this line. And he asks him the question, how many of you all believe that I could carry a man on my shoulders back across this line? They all started going crazy. Oh, you can do it! They started cheering, do it, Blondin, Blondin. Everybody's going nuts. And he goes, who wants to be the one to go with me? Silence. Who wants to go with me? He's got a pole that he carries with him. It's 40 feet wide. It's 39 pounds to keep him balanced. And he's holding it and he's saying, who? He lays the pole down. Do you want to go with me? No. Do you want to go with me? No. He starts going through the crowd one after another, and they're all, no, 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 no. He comes up to a guy named Harry Colcord. The crowd doesn't know, but Harry is his manager. But Harry's never done this before. And he goes, you need to go with me. And now it's like Harry's like, I either get fired or I go with him. So he's like, okay. And he gets up. And he comes to the platform edge where he is. And Harry climbs on his back. And Charles starts to walk across back to New York. And the crowd is silent as he walks his manager back across. When we talk about this idea of faith, the importance of faith, it's so easy for us to be the ones sitting and watching the incredible feat happen going, yes, yes, we believe, it's great. Yes, God, we believe, we know that we can do this, and we do it. Okay, let's do it. And you're like, I believe it'd be better if they did it. But I believe. In Matthew 14, we have a story where Jesus has just fed the multitudes. And this starts to begin. In verse 22, immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. And we have a situation here to where he's being pressed up by these people, and he tells his disciples, hey, I want you guys to go get in the boat and start heading out. If you look at this, there's nowhere in the text where these disciples go, well, we don't really know if that'd be good for us, and it's a boat, and it's water, and I don't know, and they're compliant. Get in a boat. A lot of us are fishermen. We'll get in a boat, go across. Pretty common sense of transportation. Not a big deal. I can follow that, Lord. You tell me to do that, I can do that. Because my first point, faithful obedience is easy as long as we're in our comfort zone. Do you realize that? It is so easy for us to be faithful to God when it's comfortable. It's easy for us to do what God wants us to do when it's convenient. And it's what we know. And it's what we're good at. And these disciples don't have any issue at all with obedience with Jesus here. But just a few verses later, now as they've gone through, as things begin to change, 25 through 27. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage, it is I, don't be afraid. And now all of a sudden, what was convenient, what was easy, what was faith-based because it was familiar, all of a sudden turns on its head. And now all of a sudden, it's scary, and it's unknown, and it's frightful at times. And we know as the story continues that Peter says, if that's you, tell me to come. And that's when the rubber meets the road. Peter has that moment of, yes, I believe. Yes, you can do it. Come walk with me. Get on my back. And he does it. And he does it. We need to realize that true faithfulness forces us to totally rely on God. True faithfulness forces us to do things that make us rely on God. See, if I'm faithful, I believe. I'm hopeful. I know things are going to work out. And the way that I show that and the way I prove that is not by doubting what God has the ability to do, but accepting the things that God charges for me to do. Now, we know in this story that Peter has a great moment and a horrible moment at the same time, doesn't he? Peter has this moment of fearlessness because of his faithfulness. As he steps out on the boat and as he begins to walk on the water, and he's doing great until he keeps his eyes away from Christ and he begins to sink. But he has that moment. In church, we have the opportunity for those moments. God is calling you to step out of the comfort zone, to do something more. And it's scary, and it's unknown, and it's to the moral world, it looks impossible. But with God, there's nothing that's impossible. James 2:14 through 17 says it this way. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith itself, if it is not accompanied by action, it's dead. We can talk the best game that there is as a church about how we care and what we want to do and who we want to be. But if we don't do anything about it, it's dead. It's just dead. And when we look at this idea of building a daring faith, this faith that changes everything, we have to be willing to say, yeah, I'll go. Yes, I'll do. It's not something I'm familiar with. It's not something I'm comfortable with. But Lord, if you need me to do it, I'll go. Because you're God. Martin Luther King Jr. says it this way, and I love it. It inspires me when I read this. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step. You ever thought about that? Whenever you go to those stairwells that kind of go back and forth all the way up a staircase or two, a couple of floors. I don't have to see it all to know that that's how I get up there. My family and I went to the fair on Thursday, and we parked on Center Street in Des Moines in one of the parking garages on, I think, the third floor or something like that nature. When we were coming back, and we had to walk up the stairs to get to the car, I didn't have to see all the way up where my car was to know that if I just followed those stairs, I'm going to get where I need to go. I didn't have to have reassurance that the stairs that were there 3 or 4 hours ago were not still there, because they're there. All I had to do was lift up my left foot and then my right foot. God doesn't ask for us to have it all figured out. God doesn't ask for us to see the final destination and how to get there through everything. God just asks for us to take that first step. God has not asked for us as a church to have the full meaning and the ramifications of what we're going to do in 2 weeks already laid out. Well, and then on this day, we're going to talk to these 10 families. And then on this day, 3 of them are going to come back. And then on the next day, we're going to have this happen. God says, no. How about we just do this? How about you just sign up? Here's the next step. How about you just show up? How about you just do this? And trust, have faith in me that I'm going to bring you what you need. You have faith in me. You take that step and you watch what I can do for you. Because I'm going to lead you where you need to go. Isaiah 12:2 says, surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord himself is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. Can I tell you the rest of the story about what happened with Charles Blondin? His manager got on his back. And he started walking the rope, and it was going just fine. They got past the first and second and third guy rope that were keeping it steady, and he got more towards the middle. And the more in the middle he got, the more the rope started to sway back and forth. And as it was swaying back and forth and he was trying to walk, he heard the thing that no one ever wants to hear when you're a tightrope walker. One of those guy ropes, ding, snapped. And when it snapped, all of a sudden, instead of swaying a little bit, now he's swaying a lot. And he knows that if he stays the way that he is, his manager is going to get him hurt. They're going to fall. His manager's grabbing on, and every time it sways to the left, his manager's moving to the left, and his manager's moving to the right, and Charles is trying to keep him steady on his back and do this, and he starts just running with this pole and his manager on his back down the line as fast as he can to get to the next guy rope. He gets to the next guy rope, ding, it breaks on him. He starts running to the next one, he stops at the next one, and he's still 2/3 of the way. He's gone 2/3 of the way, he's still got 1/3 of the way left. He stops and he gets the guy off his back and he says, Charles, listen to me. You have to no longer be Charles. You have to become a part of me. Because if you don't surrender yourself to every essence of who I am and quit fighting this, if you don't stop and just meld into my skin in essence, we're going to die. Get on my back and let me do what I do. Charles climbed on his back, closed his eyes, held on, took a breath, and Charles started walking. He walked him all the way to the other end, ran down onto the platform, and they were safe. Our Lord, He calls for us not to do the impossible. He just calls for us to hold on to Him while He does the impossible. God doesn't call you to do something that's more than what you're able to handle. He just calls for you to be there with Him when He does what you are not able to do. And it is our job as Christians to just hold on and not second guess Him and not fight Him, but just say, Lord, I surrender. I am yours. Use me how you need to use me. I am along for the ride. Whatever you say goes. I trust fully in you. Just bring me home. And God says, I can do that. I can bring you home. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. Right, Austin? That's right. God says, just trust in me. With your heart, don't try to understand everything. I'm bigger than you. I understand more than you. I created everything that you see. This is all my plan. All you have to do is just go with me. Church, that's all we got to do. That's it. It's not hard. It's not. We just got to have some faith. We just got to believe. We as a church, we want to offer that to everyone. We want to give everyone this opportunity to take it along. Maybe this morning, the Lord, as you've been hearing this, has been saying to you, you want to go? You ready? Is it your time to go on the rope with me? The question is, are you saying, no, Lord, not right now? Oh, I know that I need to. God, I know that you're awesome. And I'm cheering for you. And I love you. But I ain't getting on that back. Or is this morning the morning that He's saying to you, you ready to serve? You ready to walk away from the thing that's been holding you back? Are you ready to fully surrender to me today? And is today the morning that you go, yes, Lord, yes. See, you can't expect a complete stranger to the Lord to totally accept that. Just like Charles couldn't expect just anyone to say yes. But his manager knew him. You know God too, don't you? Sometimes it's calling out that we need. God says today. Is today your day? If it is, can we help you this morning through prayers? Or if you want to give your life to Christ in baptism, we have the waters ready for you. We want to offer it to you today as we stand and as we sing.